Barbara Hale told the whole truth in a note she left behind, and it changes everything we thought we knew. Barbara Hale was born on April 18, 1922, in a town called DeKalb, Illinois. Her parents were Luther Ezra Hale and Wilma Colvin Hale. When she was young, her family moved to Rockford, Illinois, and that's where she grew up. She was a kid during a really tough time in America called the Great Depression, so her childhood was all about working hard, sticking with family, and being determined, and those things would help her a lot in her job later on. She first wanted to be an artist and even went to the Chicago Academy of Fine Arts art school, but life had different ideas. People noticed how pretty and graceful she was, so she started doing modeling, and that led her to making movies. She got her start in Hollywood in the early 1940s when she signed with a big movie company called RKO Pictures. At first, she only got tiny parts that didn't even have her name on them, but everyone could tell that Hale had something really special. She was sincere, elegant, and had this quiet toughness that made her different from everyone else. Her first movies, like Higher and Higher in 1943 and The Window in 1949, showed that she could do all kinds of roles. She could play sweet romantic characters and serious dramatic ones really well. Over time, she became a trusted and respected main actress, working with huge stars like Frank Sinatra, Robert Young, and James Stewart. People watching movies loved her because she was warm and smart, and directors loved working with her because she was professional and just naturally good in front of the camera. But Barbara's biggest success happened on TV, where she became famous forever as Della Street, the super loyal and smart legal secretary who worked for Raymond Burr's character, Perry Mason. The TV show, Perry Mason, ran from 1957 to 1966 and became one of the most famous courtroom shows in TV history. Hale's acting as Della Street was really groundbreaking and special for that time. Back then, women on TV were usually shown as just housewives or characters who weren't very important, but Della was confident, really smart, and absolutely necessary for Mason to win his cases. Barbara's connection with Raymond Burr was incredible. They had a really deep respect for each other and a friendship that lasted for decades, both when they were acting together and in real life. Her acting as Della Street got her tons of praise from critics and made her super famous. In 1959, she won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, which proved she was one of the best actresses on television. Even after the original Perry Mason show ended, Hale came back to play her favorite character in more than 30 Perry Mason TV movies between 1985 and 1995. These movies let a whole new group of people meet her character and showed that she was still just as charming as ever. She worked with Burr again until he died in 1993, and Hale was always the emotional center of the show. Her calm voice, classy way of acting, and total loyalty became exactly what people thought of when they thought of Della Street. Besides her TV fame, Barbara Hale's movie career was also really impressive. She was in more than 50 movies, including well-known ones like The Boy with Green Hair in 1948, Jolson Sings Again in 1949, and Lorna Doone in 1951. Every time she acted, she showed she could bring real feeling and humanity to whatever role she played. Unlike lots of Hollywood stars, Hale was able to keep her personal life private and stable, even though she was surrounded by all the sparkle and glamour of fame. Barbara Hale was admired not just for her talent, but also for being dignified and kind. She acted with quiet confidence and never tried to get involved in scandals or drama. In interviews, she talked a lot about how important family and faith were to her, and she cared more about her home life than being famous. The people she worked with always said she was gracious and generous, a true lady in every way you can imagine. Her success in Hollywood wasn't just because she was glamorous, but because she had integrity, worked really hard, and truly loved what she did. In 1945, while she was working on a Western movie called West of the Pecos, Barbara Hale's life took a romantic turn that would make her really happy off-screen for many, many years. The movie was based on a book by Zane Grey and had a bunch of up-and-coming Hollywood actors in it, including a young, handsome actor named Bill Williams, whose real name was Herman August Wilhelm Catt. Williams was a ruggedly charming guy, known for his all-American good looks and quiet confidence, and Hale was a beautiful, poised actress who was starting to become well-known in the film business. During the long days of filming in the dusty desert and the quiet evenings hanging out with the cast and crew, Hale and Williams felt an immediate and obvious connection. Their chemistry was just as natural when the cameras were off as it was when they were filming, and what started as just being friends soon turned into a deep and real romance. Hale liked Williams' kindness, humility, and steady personality, qualities that really stood out in the competitive, superfast world of Hollywood. He, on the other hand, admired her intelligence, her down-to-earth personality, and her quiet strength, which went really well with his easygoing nature. The two of them shared the same values, like being devoted to family and believing in hard work, and these things would become the foundation of their marriage. As they dated and got closer, they became impossible to separate, and people often saw them at Hollywood events together, though they both actually preferred quiet nights at home instead of all the glitz and glamour of the movie scene. Their love led to them getting married on June 22, 1946, in a simple but meaningful ceremony that showed how down-to-earth they both were. Even though they were both working actors, Hale and Williams managed to have a marriage that survived all the challenges of Hollywood's crazy schedules and always being in the spotlight. Their friends and co-workers knew them as one of the most devoted and stable couples in the entertainment business, which was really rare back then when lots of celebrity marriages didn't last very long. Hale said later that their marriage worked because of mutual respect and shared laughter, two things that never went away even during the hardest times. Together, they had 3 kids, 2 daughters, Jody and Juanita, and a son, William Catt, who would follow what his parents did and become a successful actor himself. The family was really, really close, and Hale often put family first before her career whenever she could. She sometimes said no to acting roles so she could spend more time with her children because she believed her most important role was being a mother and wife. Their home was full of warmth, creativity, and encouragement. Hale and Williams both created an environment that let their kids explore their artistic interests while also teaching them to be humble and kind. Their son, William Catt, went on to become famous, starring in the popular 1980s TV show The Greatest American Hero, and later he even acted with his mother in the Perry Mason TV movies. Working together like that showed how close their bond was. Hale was incredibly proud of her kids and often talked about how lucky she felt to have a family that loved storytelling and performing just like she did. The marriage between Barbara Hale and Bill Williams lasted almost 50 years, showing what lasting love and shared devotion looks like in an industry that's famous for relationships that don't last. Through successes, career changes, and personal struggles, they stayed devoted partners until Williams died in 1992. Their relationship, which was built on friendship, faith, and mutual respect, didn't just bring them happiness. It also served as an inspiring example of lasting love in Hollywood, a love story that, just like Barbara Hale herself, was filled with grace, strength, and loyalty that never wavered. For decades, Barbara Hale was admired as the poised and intelligent Della Street, the loyal secretary to Raymond Burr's Perry Mason on television. Their on-screen chemistry made millions of people fall in love with them, creating one of the longest-lasting partnerships in TV history. But behind the scenes, there were rumors about a deep and complicated friendship, one that, according to a note Barbara supposedly left behind before she died in 2017, may have been more meaningful than anyone ever knew. This note, which was found among her personal stuff, has made many people rethink the connection between Hale and Burr, suggesting that their bond went way beyond what happened on TV. Barbara Hale had always been really private about her personal life, and she almost never gave interviews that talked deeply about her emotions or personal relationships. However, in the note she left, she finally shared feelings she had kept hidden from the world for a long time. "Raymond was my rock," she wrote. "He gave me strength when I was uncertain, and he believed in me when I doubted myself." Those words showed us a peek into a bond that was deeply based on mutual respect and affection. Hale had worked with Burr for almost 40 years, from the original Perry Mason series, 1957 to 1966, to the TV movies that brought the cast back together starting in the 1980s. Their relationship lasted through time, loss, and change. Raymond Burr, who was known for his powerful presence and seriousness, was a private man himself and was often misunderstood by the media. Hale's letter suggested that the two of them shared an understanding that only they could really get. "Ray had a gentle soul," Barbara wrote. "Behind the powerful voice and the intensity of his performances, there was kindness, humor, and deep loneliness." That statement showed us the quieter side of Burr's life, one that Hale seemed to know better than anyone else did. She often defended him when tabloid stories questioned his personal life, insisting that he was one of the most compassionate people she had ever known. What made Hale's confession so surprising was how it seemed to go against her carefully created public image as the calm, steady professional. The note showed an emotional depth that she almost never showed in interviews. "There were days when I leaned on Ray more than I should have," she admitted. "He carried me through the long hours, through the doubts, through the years when I wondered if I still mattered in Hollywood." Her words suggested that Burr wasn't just a co-worker, but someone who gave her strength during moments when she felt uncertain and lonely in her own life. Their friendship started when Hale was cast as Della Street in 1957, a role that would define her whole career. She and Burr quickly developed an easy connection, and their conversations were often filled with laughter between takes. Hale said later, "We didn't have to act the friendship. You could feel it." But what the public never knew was how that friendship got even deeper as they got older. When Burr got sick in the early 1990s, Hale stayed by his side, visiting him a lot, even when it was hard to keep filming. The note showed that when he died in 1993, it left a huge empty space in her life that she never really recovered from. "When Ray left us, something inside me went quiet," she wrote. "I still heard his voice every time I walked into a set." What makes Barbara Hale's note so powerful is how vulnerable and honest it is. It wasn't written for the public to read, but for her family, to explain the deep friendship that shaped her life, both personally and professionally. "I think we loved each other in the truest way," she wrote, "not through romance, but through the kind of loyalty that doesn't fade." That statement completely reframed their entire legacy. While Hollywood loved to gossip about secret affairs and hidden scandals, Hale's truth was simpler but way more meaningful. A love that existed without boundaries or expectations. Her children, especially her son William Cat, later talked about how important Burr had been to their family. Cat once said that Burr was like an uncle to him, someone who always showed generosity and warmth. In her note, Hale confirmed that feeling. "Ray was family," she wrote. "He wasn't just Perry to my Della. He was a part of our lives." When Barbara Hale died on January 26, 2017, at the age of 94, the entertainment world was really sad about losing such a beloved actress. But for those who found the note, her final words gave them a new way of understanding the woman behind Della Street. They showed a person who valued loyalty more than fame, compassion more than ambition, and truth more than appearance. Her confession wasn't about a scandal. It was about gratitude, about love, and about lasting friendship. In the end, Barbara Hale's letter didn't just change how people saw her relationship with Raymond Burr. It redefined what it means to love someone deeply and quietly in a world that's obsessed with big, dramatic stories. "If I could speak to Ray again," she wrote at the end, "I'd simply say, thank you for every word, every laugh, and every moment we shared in the story of our lives." Those words now remind us that some of the greatest love stories aren't written in movie scripts, but in the quiet spaces between two hearts that understood each other perfectly. Barbara Hale died peacefully at her home in Sherman Oaks, California, on January 26, 2017, at the amazing age of 94. Her death marked the end of a special time not only for her devoted family and countless fans, but also for a whole generation of TV watchers who had come to know and love her as Della Street, the poised and intelligent secretary who stood loyally beside Raymond Burr's Perry Mason for almost 40 years. Hale's death was because of complications from a lung disease called chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, a condition that she had bravely fought in her later years with the same quiet strength and dignity that had been part of both her personal life and her career. Her death really affected people deeply throughout the entertainment industry as co-workers, fans, and TV historians stopped to remember the woman whose grace and professionalism had made her a lasting icon. Nice things people said about her came in from all over the world, with many people remembering her deep bond with Raymond Burr, both on-screen and off-screen. Together, they had created one of television's most lasting partnerships, a relationship built on mutual respect, affection, and an unspoken understanding that went beyond the scripts they performed. With Hale's death, many people thought about how she had become not just an actress, but a symbol of steadfast loyalty and quiet intelligence in an industry often ruled by glamour and ego.